Queen Giselle receives a report from her men about their failure to eliminate Charlotte thanks to an unwelcome intervention by the Black Knight. Her general, probably dreaming of being the next big action hero, promised to repay the Black Knight for every little thing he had done if he ever got the chance. Dream on, son. Giselle flares up, slicing the general just enough to make a bucket of blood seem like water from a flowing stream. Miraculously, the guy survives. With a wicked grin that only evil queens can pull off, Queen Giselle swears to end the Black Knight herself. Today's her lucky day because the Black Knight arrives right then. She's taken aback, questioning how he bypassed her barriers. "Oh, those shabby little things," quips Haruto and his Black Knight guys. "Snuff them out in no time. No big deal." Queen Giselle, never one to miss a chance for a dramatic confrontation, decides to grill the Black Knight right then and there. She calls him a fool and reminds him she's the strongest in the kingdom before launching a full-scale attack. He surprises her by evading her attacks and restraining her with powerful magic. With a flourish, he slaps a collar around her neck like a misbehaving puppy and warns that removing it will cost her life. Giselle begins her classic "how dare you treat a queen this way" speech, but Haruto cuts her off, explaining that no magic can remove the collar. If she tries, she'll lose her head, literally. All he wants is for her to keep her claws off Charlotte and her family, or else he'll help her remove the collar personally. He sends her to her room to reflect on her evil deeds while he decides whether she deserves forgiveness. Fast forward 5 years and Charlotte is happily playing in the snow. Haruto, ever the reluctant companion, wishes he could be inside. Charlotte runs over, excited about a special move she's not strong enough to use. Haruto, ever the doting brother, decides to put on a magic show. He recites an embarrassingly dramatic chant and drills a massive hole in the ground. Charlotte is thrilled and Haruto is glad he made her happy, until their parents show up, demanding to know who drilled a hole into the ground. Is that how strong Haruto actually is? They wonder. Haruto, thinking quickly, conjures a clone of the Black Knight, claiming the Black Knight was just passing by and showed them his special attack. Charlotte supports him, but their father remains skeptical. While Charlotte continues to play, Haruto chats with his father, who updates him on the mysteriously absent Queen Giselle. Rumor has it she's been wearing a slave collar, which some people think is a questionable fashion choice. Others believe someone put it on her and now she can't remove it. Haruto's father wonders if this has something to do with their newfound peace, but Haruto is just happy to enjoy his shut-in lifestyle. Until his father drops a bombshell. Haruto must attend school in the capital. Haruto's reaction is predictably over the top, practically peeling his skin off in horror. He rants and thrashes about, but his father explains that Princess Marian has taken a special liking to him and has specifically requested his attendance. The king, eager to please his daughter, leaves Haruto no choice but to reconsider. Haruto agrees to go, provided he can take an attendant. Flay comes to mind first, but both he and his father know she caused more trouble than she's worth. His mother, proving the walls really do have ears, volunteers herself. Haruto, mortified at the thought of bringing his mom to college, flatly refuses. Who takes their mom to college, especially as an able sidekick? His father gives him 3 months to find a suitable attendant. Haruto, determined to weasel out of school, explains the situation to his clone and asks him to go in his place. The clone, just as much of a shut-in as Haruto, initially refuses. Haruto argues that all the clone needs to do is get expelled for lack of magical powers. The clone reminds Haruto that he could fake it himself, but Haruto insists he might accidentally use his barrier magic if bullied. The clone agrees reluctantly after Haruto promises he used barrier magic to protect him. Later on, Haruto is seen in his secret cabin, playing video games and living his best shut-in life while his clone handles the bothersome task of existing in society. Meanwhile, Charlotte is glued to her anime, having developed quite the obsession. Suddenly, Haruto remembers he needs to find an attendant. This earns him a curious look from Charlotte and a suspicious glare from Flay, who wonders who could possibly be a better attendant than her. To avoid the inevitable storm, Haruto explains he was just talking to himself, but Flay's gaze remains sharp. Claiming he's going for a walk, he heads off to the village of skeletons. Yes, those same skeletons from 5 years ago when he defeated the Queen's summoners. The leader, Johnny, welcomes him with a hearty "boss," and Haruto is surprised to see other monsters milling about. Johnny explains they've taken in strays and reassures Haruto that Flay knows about it, so there's nothing to worry about. Johnny gives Haruto a grand tour of the village, proudly showing off their farms and sharing future plans. Haruto is impressed by their harvest and Johnny's leadership, briefly wondering if Johnny might be the perfect attendant. But as Johnny drones on, Haruto realizes the skeleton's incessant talking would drive him insane. After a fruitless day of searching, Haruto heads back to the cabin where Flay demands to know what he meant by needing an attendant. Haruto, not wanting to face her wrath, yells that it's none of her business, which naturally makes her feel even worse. The next day, Flay gives Charlotte a tour around the village, and Charlotte is impressed that Haruto provided a home for the monsters. She decides to name the village Pandemonium, which gets Johnny's approval. Meanwhile, in the frozen mountains, a group of adventurers injure a dragon, causing it to crash land near Haruto's territory. Haruto's father informs him about the dragon and its potential threat. He asks Flay to investigate, but she refuses, stating she only takes orders from Haruto. When Haruto asks, she still refuses, explaining that any dragon hiding during the demon versus human war is a coward. But Charlotte, having eavesdropped, pleads with Flay to help the dragon. Haruto seizes the opportunity and gives Flay his permission, leaving her no choice but to agree. They arrive in the mountains just as adventurers catch up to the dragon. The dragon, in bad shape, faces the adventurers, but Haruto and Flay, disguised as the Black Knight and the Red Crimson Lady, arrive just in time. Flay, seeing the dragon's mistreatment, tries to incinerate the adventurers, but Haruto stops her and subdues them instead. Haruto tries to talk to the dragon, who freezes him, mistaking him for an adventurer. She questions why a demon like Flay would serve a human, and Flay rants about her loyalty to Haruto. Haruto clarifies that he's not an adventurer but her savior. The dragon is shocked to hear this, and even more so when Flay spends an hour explaining Haruto's false backstory as the reincarnated demon king. The dragon, impressed by this, apologizes for not fighting in the war, revealing she dislikes fighting and has lived quietly in the mountains for 300 years. Haruto is thrilled, seeing her as the ultimate shut-in. She reveals how she used to sleep all day in a cave until an adventurer left a book, igniting her love for reading. She'd sneak into villages to steal books until adventurers burned them all. Flay, moved by her story, invites the dragon to Pandemonium. The dragon agrees and names Haruto her master. She transforms into a human, and Haruto, prepared this time, quickly gives her proper clothes to avoid another Flay situation. Haruto introduces himself and asks the dragon her name, but she has none. He stumbles over weird names like Lizard before settling on Lisa. Haruto introduces Lisa to his family, and his father is flabbergasted to see that this is the same dragon they had discussed. Haruto asks if she can stay as one of their maids, and his father, with a skeptical eyebrow raised, reveals that he doesn't mind as long as she follows the rules. Meanwhile, Charlotte is practically bouncing off the walls, thrilled to meet her first dragon friend. Because who wouldn't be excited about having a magical fire-breathing maid? Later, Flay takes it upon herself to teach Lisa the fine art of maidery. Spoiler alert, Flay is a disaster. She manages to break a broom within seconds, while Lisa handles it like a pro. Moving on to washing dishes, Flay smashes every single plate, whereas Lisa's dishes practically sparkle. Next up, cooking. Miraculously, Flay doesn't burn down the whole castle with her fire. Liza learns from the other maids and quickly becomes the kitchen queen, much to Flay's growing jealousy. It's obvious that Lisa is a natural. Everyone in the family enjoys her cooking and showers her with compliments. Natalia, Charlotte's mother, wonders what else Lisa can do, only to find out she also has a knack for reading. Natalia is impressed and asks Lisa to be Charlotte's personal attendant. Charlotte's father is stunned but agrees, probably wondering what other surprises this dragon has up her sleeve. The next day, Lisa is seen teaching Charlotte how to use magic. Charlotte struggles at first but quickly improves, managing to create a small fire. They read books on magic together, growing closer every day. Haruto realizes Lisa is a perfect attendant but is torn because he doesn't want to take her away from Charlotte. He comes up with a cunning plan. He'll ask Lisa to follow him to school and send her back home with his teleportation magic. The next day, Charlotte spots Lisa flying by. Flay, feeling competitive, claims she can fly too and proceeds to demonstrate by jumping. Surprisingly, Charlotte is still impressed and asks Flay to teach her. Haruto decides to gauge Flay and Charlotte's powers. Turns out Flay and Lisa are both high-level creatures. Haruto is shocked to find that Charlotte's max level is absurdly high, especially since Queen Giselle's was only 44. He figures Charlotte will max out in no time, but she disagrees, revealing her mother sealed her powers when she was a baby because she made a fireball before she could talk. Typical baby problems, right? Charlotte wonders about Haruto's powers. Flay guesses he must be over level 100, but Haruto refuses to show them his stats, too embarrassed by his low level 2 status. Chillax bro, you're actually level 1002, but Haruto, blissfully unaware, remains mortified by his imagined low stats. Later, Lisa informs Charlotte that her break time is over, and Charlotte is depressed she won't get to watch more anime. Just before they leave, Haruto casually drops the bomb that he is starting school in the capital. Charlotte is shocked and immediately summons an emergency meeting with her knights. At the meeting, Charlotte, Lisa, Flay, Johnny, and the Golem discuss Haruto going to school. Flay is appalled she didn't hear about this sooner. She insists there's nothing Haruto could learn at school since he's the Demon King, but Johnny reminds her they promised not to reveal his secret. Charlotte is shocked Haruto has a secret she doesn't know, but Johnny comforts her, saying she's Haruto's favorite and he'll tell her eventually. They continue the meeting, and Charlotte mentions an anime about a school with a secret student council pulling the strings. She convinces herself Haruto must be infiltrating to stop them. Flay and Johnny buy into this wild theory immediately, so Charlotte instructs them to start preparing to help him. But that's exactly what y'all are doing, any sane person would point out. Liza reports everything to Haruto, who is relieved to hear about it before they get themselves into more trouble. Liza, still reeling from Charlotte's theory, asks if Haruto is really fighting Yule Syndicate. Haruto decides to play along, seeing a chance to secure his dream attendant. He asks for her help, explaining he needs an attendant for school. Liza, thinking about what's at stake, agrees. Haruto falls back on his bed, relieved. He plans to get himself kicked out of school and return triumphant, claiming he defeated the evil school monster. Because nothing says successful infiltration like a dramatic exit. At the royal residence, Marion barges into Leo's room with exciting news. He complains about her manner of entry, but she ignores it and informs him that she received a letter from the Margraves. The prince guesses Haruto has set off the royal capital. He tries to downplay it, but his sister points out that she worked hard to get Haruto the recommendation letter because of him. Leo wants to know why Haruto is so strong. The prince has been honing his swordsmanship and skills since their first encounter, but he feels like the gap between them is only getting further. Going to the same school might help him learn Hiro's secret. Lise teases his sister for her perseverance when proposing this to their father, and this causes her to blush as he speculates that she might have a crush on Haruto. He changes the conversation to the Church of Lucifer. This new cult has disguised itself as a branch of the state religion and are currently giving Marion a hard time at school. She reveals that they have extremist ideologies and rumors state that they worship a demon. Their influence has spread beyond the academy and into the kingdom. Lately, some of their members have spread the idea of overthrowing the monarchy. Leos is concerned about his mother, Queen Giselle, being the source of the funding. He doesn't know what her goals are, but her sudden change 5 years ago after someone mysteriously placed a collar on her neck is a factor. He fears her these days as her ruthlessness has increased. To make matters worse, everyone in the kingdom knows that the king and queen are on bad terms. The prince is afraid that the Church of Lucifer will try to use that to their advantage, with their mother looking to join in to crush the king. Marion has a feeling that Haruto might be able to help them navigate through this situation. Leos has heard about the escapades of the hero of justice known as the Black Knight in the Margrave province. This character is strong enough to have defeated a dragon. The prince suggests they ask him for help in dealing with this situation. Their mother interrupts their conversation and walks toward them like a possessed woman as she woman-handles Marion for looking at her collar. She accuses Marion of mocking her like the others. She lets go and says that she was just joking but warns the princess to be careful with where her eyes wander. She then makes her way to her son, who looks like he's been eating protein shakes for breakfast. She asks him to get close to Haruto to find out more information on the Black Knight before walking off while laughing hysterically. Meanwhile, Haruto had been living the dream, lounging in his cozy cabin for the last few days. Seriously, who wouldn't want a break after casually creating a portal in a forest near the capital? On the day of his grand return, he and Lisa step through the portal and, because life's too short for carriages, proceed on foot to the main gate. Along the way, they come across a carriage under siege by an evil bison, because why not? One of the wheels breaks, sending a child flying out, but Haruto, being the hero he is, swoops in for the save. Iris, who's on board, tries to stop the creature but ends up getting a one-way ticket to the Shadow Realm. Haruto changes to the Black Knight, knocks out the raging bison, heals Iris, the female protector of the carriage. She thanks him profusely, explaining they have no funds for a reward. Haruto, in full hero mode, assures her he doesn't need money. Iris promises to repay him somehow someday. Lisa, ever the observer, mentions a strange vibe from Iris. Later on, Haruto relocates the bison to a safe spot and gives it a meal, because even evil bisons need love. He then heads to the academy, endures a long registration process, and retreats to his cabin to relax. Char suggests a trip back to the capital for some food. A few days later, Haruto's clone informs him about an upcoming exam. A school official bursts in, declaring he needs to take a proficiency test before the entrance ceremony. Haruto, ever the slacker, sees this as a golden opportunity to fail spectacularly and return to his cabin. Excited by the thought of indefinite cabin time, he decides to handle this personally. At the exam venue, he's greeted by the examiner, who leads him into a grand lecture hall. The extrovert environment makes Haruto even more determined to fail. Haruto rushes through the test, leaving wrong answers to speed up his exit, But when he hits the barrier magic section, his expertise forces him to give weak answers to avoid suspicion. In the ancient magic section, nostalgia trips him up, leading to some correct answers. Before he can sabotage his efforts, the examiner collects his paper. He then announces the mana level assessment. Haruto, hoping to be dismissed for his low mana, reluctantly complies. However, the crystal shatters under his immense power, much to the shock of the tutors. Turia, the professor, is impressed rather than furious, labeling Haruto spectacular. Despite his protests, she insists on mentoring him, noting his impressive ancient magic knowledge. The entrance ceremony arrives, and Char gives Haruto's clone a revolver for self-defense. The clone, sharing Haruto's aversion to the ceremony, attends reluctantly. Post-ceremony, the clone encounters Schneid, the student council vice president, and a confrontation ensues. Schneid, ever the extroverted peacock, attacks the clone, who barely survives thanks to defensive magic. Iris, witnessing the ordeal, tries to calm Schneid, but his ego demands attention. Schneid's frustration leads to a dangerous spell, which the clone counters with a magic blast from the revolver, escaping in the ensuing chaos. Haruto's clone informs him of the shocked by the shocking drama that went on in school. That evening, he receives a duel request from Schneid, which he can't refuse without dishonoring his family. Begrudgingly, he plans to lose convincingly. He decides to have a heart-to-heart with Schneid, but he finds Iris at Schneid's mansion begging him to call off the match. Schneid, being the douchebag he is, asks her to play stripper. Just before she does some greater evil, Haruto intervenes as the Black Knight and introduces himself as Shiva before sending everyone to a dark dimension and punishing Schneid. He orders Iris to go home and makes Schneid scream in pain by sealing his wound. The dark veil lifts, revealing Schneid's embarrassment and his cronies, while trying to help only cause more pain. The little buggers were totally enjoying this, though. Schneid, nursing his bruised ego, vows revenge on Haruto. That's all on today's video. Make sure to click the bell and subscribe icon for instant notifications on new videos. Have a great day, and thank you all so much for watching this video.